Welcome to the second episode of the Prodigal Crossroads. Danny Schroeder is my guest today. I've known him for, gosh dang, since 2009. Him and I, crazy way to cross paths in the Marine Corps, get stuck together the whole entire time. But uh, Danny, this is your first time doing one of these podcasts, isn't it not?
Yes, ever.
All right, so you're like a virgin at this thing, so we're
Yeah,
take it easy on you, but yeah, but
yeah.
yeah, so let's get this thing rolling. So there's a point in time where obviously you joined the Marine Corps, but give us like your early childhood life experiences. Let's say like let's go like teens onward up until you joined the Marine Corps.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I grew up pretty normal, suburbia lifestyle thing. Nothing too crazy. Middle-ish class, not rich, not like poor. Kind of somewhere on the lower end. But yep, went to Brooklyn, which is right outside of Cleveland. So nobody knows what that is. So that's why I just tell everybody Cleveland because
Yeah.
nobody's gonna know. But yeah, played soccer pretty much my entire life. All throughout high school, I did marching band too. I was in drumline. Not a whole lot excitement there. I got T-boned by a drunk driver when I was 17.
Yeah.
So I went blind in my left eye. Marine Corps kicked me out because I did the whole MEPS thing. So I was joining like right after high school, but then with all the surgeries and everything else, took like 2 or 3 more years to join. So I ended up not joining until I was 20, I think. Yeah, I think 20.
Okay.
And yeah, that was it. I went to Tri-C for my paramedic. Had my paramedic license before joining, and you know, didn't really use that for anything, but did a
So
little school.
yeah, so what's it like growing up in like obviously people know you just said you're from the Cleveland area, but Cleveland
Yeah.
area it's actually massive. I mean, if you anyone's ever been there, it stretches all the way from like Elyria up to like past Menor on the east side, and then go south. You get all the way into Canton before. Like, what's it growing up in like suburbia Cleveland? Like, obviously there's different parts, different communities and whatnot. So like, what's it like growing up in the area that you were in? Because I think Brooklyn's close to Brook Park, so
Yep.
you guys got that new like renovation coming in there with the new Brown
Oh yeah, the
Stadium. So
stadium. They already started all through there. They already got all those big metal or not metal, but like almost like jersey barriers, all the cement walls coming in and all that stuff.
mhm.
There's pallets and pallets of steel and wood already there, and it's like it just got approved like a month ago, not even.
Yeah,
I don't know. But so that's going to be a mess because I mean traffic there is already horrible. Everybody from the Cleveland area knows how bad it is going to either like the IX Center or the airport right there. So
right.
that'll be awful for them.
But like but like in that area, because obviously I've been there, because you and I haven't been together for quite some time. But there's that the airport's there, but what is like the overall growth from like when you were say you were in high school, so early years in high school to like when you're getting ready to join the Marine Corps for the second time, like the growth that comes through with like what is that 480 that runs through there?
Yeah,
I think and
480,
like
71.
77, 71, like the growth from that. Obviously it's huge in that area. So yeah,
Yeah, it's since I don't want to say like doubled, but like it's got a lot more just in housing alone. Like we're not even talking about all the little businesses and strip malls,
right,
all those things that have popped up on each exit, but like just houses alone have gone. It used to be super cheap, little houses. Now there's, everything's expensive, obviously, but there's twice as many houses, and you're like, I don't even know who's buying all these or where all these people are living, working, how, because it
hmm,
still looks the same, but there's a lot more businesses and houses and just even like when I graduated my high school, I was like I think my class had 109 people, something like that, and now
yeah.
they're pushing 200s per class. So it's like the school's gotten doubled in size. So
Yeah. So you said 17 you were T-boned by a drunk driver. If you can like if you can recall like that night like leading up to it, what happened, and then like the aftermath of that and like how it's affected your life since then.
yeah, no, I was like I said, I was 17. It was Memorial Day. We had the family over. Soccer season was ramping up. I needed cleats, so I took my older brother's car because it was the last in the driveway. My older brother was like, he was the one that was like in the Fast and Furious kind of, he built cars like that, souped them up, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna take his car. It's cool. I'm gonna cruise around, not realizing that on Labor Day nothing's open. So I'm going to like I went to like Dick's Sporting Goods. I went to the old Parmertown Mall. Like nothing's open. So I'm like, all right, I can't get cleats. So I'm leaving there. I'm coming home, and then yeah, I just lights green, lights green, lights green. Boom, everything's black. Like And then all I remember was like the smell, the taste of blood, and then like I was trying to crawl out the window, but I couldn't really use my left side. So like my right side seemed fine. I could see and everything, and I knew like, oh, I'm pretty thrashed at this point because like nothing on the one side's working, and I can feel everything all wet. And I was like, okay, that's not blood. It's probably like antifreeze, radiator fluid, something like that, And then
Mm.
once I like got out of the window and like leaning up against the car, like and I just collapsed because I was so nauseous and just all that. And then that's when people started yelling like, just lay down, blah blah blah. Put a shirt over his face, that kind of stuff. And I was like, all right, it's got to be pretty bad at this point. And then when I got in the ambulance, I just asked the paramedic or EMT, whatever it was, like, hey, how bad is it? Like, am I gonna be able to see again? And he's just like, we got to get you cleaned up, blah blah blah. Not really telling me much, but I was like, okay, it's pretty bad. And then the guy hit ran, but he my brother had, it was like a 92 Celica GT or something like that, like a, I don't know, it almost looked like a Eclipse, but it wasn't.
Okay.
And so it like bent kind of like this, right where the driver door was, where I was sitting, and the dude's bumper and like the crash bar, and it was an old Buick, like an '80s Buick, like a boat kind of car, so it just hit it and folded the other car, but his bumper and license plate, all that stuff got stuck in my car. So then that's how they found him a day later or whatever, whenever they did. But yeah, the aftermath of that, like, I was in the hospital for maybe like a month or so, a couple weeks,
Yeah.
and just between like the surgeries and scarring, bleeding, trying to figure out how bad the eye really was. And when I first saw my brother, I was just like, hey man, I'm sorry about your car. Like, because he spent a lot of time, building it. It was his first car that like he bought outside of like, when you get your license, your parents are like, hey, you can use our car so you can buy one, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So it was his first like, he did car. So I was probably upset about that, but he got over it.
So
And
you
then
obviously you said you're getting ready to go to the Marine Corps after that. You said you get in, but it was like waiver thing.
yeah, no,
You
no,
go to like
I
your You go to,
yeah,
like,
I
the
signed up.
paramedics thing, like, so what would be, like, the limitations, I guess, like, instantly from then and, like, obviously, I know the story from the Marine Corps, but, like, you're a hell of
Yeah,
a shot for being blind in one eye. So, like,
yeah,
but what are the
100%.
limitations, like, going from, like, that moment? Obviously, like, there's, like a learning curve where you're, like, basically using one eye,
Yeah.
to, like, going through school to get your paramedics or, excuse me for, like, missing out what you said, but that like, the paramedics thing. But then, like, being in the Marine Corps waiver and then eventually getting back in again.
Yeah, because like I depped, like I had a ship date and all this stuff. I was going to be an '03, whatever, infantry, 'cause you don't get to pick. It's just you're an '03.
Right.
And that was when I was 17. And then when that happened, my recruiter's like, well, we can't, like, obviously you're disqualified. Like, we're glad you're okay, blah, 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 but you're going to be disqualified until, you can heal, you can graduate, all that stuff. And then you can come back and we'll revisit it. So then after that, though, my best friend in high school, he joined the Coast Guard. So I was like, I'll just join the Coast Guard. So I tried to join that, but he's like, listen, with your eye and all your surgeries, like, we're not going to, like, the Coast Guard, basically, the recruiters have people for 2 or 3 years out. So they're like, listen, I don't really have to do anything. Like, people just want to join the Coast Guard, and we only have to send like two a month, kind of thing. And there's three or
Yeah.
four recruiters, so they're like, it's a pretty skate, recruiting job, it sounds like. So, and then after that, I was like, well, can't do that. So that's when I was like, all right, I'll go try C for. I was going to be a firefighter, so I was going for the EMTB, your basic, and then your paramedic, and then I was going to go to the fire academy and go that route, because it was like, okay, 2 years I could do this and go in. But like a year into it, I'm like, I can't. I don't, like, school's not for me. Blah blah blah. I don't really know what I'm doing with my life. I'm just kind of blowing off classes, like wasting money essentially. Even though
Yeah.
Tri-C's cheap, but it's like you're paying for it by yourself, and you're a 18-year-old. You're not making great money. Part time in it at Kmart, and yeah. So then I was like, all right. So I went back to the recruiter's office, and like I was talking to the army guy, and then the army guy's like, we could do blah blah blah. Giving me the whole rah rah speech. So I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go talk to the Marines, because always, if I'm going to join one, I might as well join the hardest. So
Yeah,
then I walk in
absolutely.
the Marines office, and he's like, well, this is going to be a rough one, but because it was a different recruiter than from when, I got hit. So he just pulled up all my stuff. He's like, all right, well, yeah, we can start submitting all these and, see what they say. And then after I got denied the first time, because it took me 7 denials before they said yes. So, I had to get all the paperwork from each surgery, each doctor, and all this stuff. And finally, like the last time, the recruiter was just like, well, listen, if you just get with your doctor and have him write like that you're basically healed, that you are fit for military duty or service, like make it stay something like that, like state
Okay.
in there. So then that way the Marine Corps could just kind of like alleviate it and be like, nope, his doctor said he's fine. So if something happens to his eye or whatever, that's on
Mhm.
them.
I
So,
mean, which is pretty crazy because there's a like we know that there's a waiver for everything. Like
oh yeah,
there's even ASVAB waivers. Like people can't even sign their own name. So I mean, it's
yeah, there are
crazy
a
that
few
it
of
took so long.
those.
Especially like if you can like, hey, look, I can do these things. Like you said you're blind. Is it like full blindness in your left
It's like
eye?
2400. So like if you take like a Ziploc bag, a regular square, and you fold it in half, and then you fold it in half again, and then you try to
Okay.
look through it, that's basically what my left eye looks like.
Okay. So then you get into the Marine Corps, and then like this is like the funny part. Like you and I, it's almost like we go to boot camp together. We're in like different platoons, but we end up in MCT together. We end up at
Yeah.
comp school together. We end up at Lejeune
Battalion
together.
together.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. Like it, I think the chances of that is like probably like
Supposed to deploy together. Yeah.
yeah, like 1 in 100,000, or even something
Yeah.
crazy like that. But like so, obviously, you and I have a somewhat similar experience. So, what would be like what would say your pros and cons are of your military experience? And do you wish that like you would have done something a little bit different, knowing that like obviously we went to like a non deployable unit, but like do you wish something a little bit different would have happened for you in those 4 or 5 years that you were in?
I mean, yeah, I think everybody that was in who wanted to deploy
Yeah.
and didn't get to, not for their own fault, because some people didn't want to deploy at all. But then there was most of us were like, yeah, I'll deploy, but it was like there's not enough slots. There's not, what I'm saying? Like it just didn't happen. It's like obviously I wish that would have happened, but as far as career wise go, no, I mean, because if I was gonna stay in, then I probably wouldn't have had a family, like so I
Right.
would have wanted to try to do like either EOD or maybe MARSOC or something along those lines, like do something MSG to where you can see more and do more, but also all of those billets don't really help support a family life. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Right.
kind of, being gone 9 months a year doesn't, it's it's not going to help your marriage. It's just
Right.
not.
Yeah.
Or kids, like then you're not going to see your kids. Like, so, but that's what I would have wanted to do if I stayed in. So like getting out was obviously the better choice. And how they always say, like, I'm not saying I was a great Marine, but how they say like the good
No,
ones
you're good.
always get out and the ones that like stay in are the ones that was like, they get in positions of power because it's like, well, he's been here for 20 years, so now he's in charge. And you're like, well, that doesn't really add up. But
Yeah.
like, there are still some good ones. I'm not saying there's not, but
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ben Wallace, he's a
yeah,
great one.
solid.
But yeah, like you said, you and I, we butt head with some of our leadership, quite
Wait, I
often.
got told, I got told if I said yes more, I would have got promoted faster. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
So you're telling me if I was a yes man, I would have got promoted faster? Like that? Nah, like it's
yeah.
fine. You can keep it. Like,
I think we both know someone from Detroit who fell into that area. So,
oh yeah. I got told the
Well,
one time, like, you'd have been a sergeant already if you make the coffee. Like, what? What? I
yeah,
didn't even drink coffee, Like, well, I mean, I do now, but like back then, I was like, I don't drink coffee. Why am I making another grown man's coffee? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. But
yeah.
yeah,
We go from California, then we go into Lejeune together, and you kind of picked up your brother's infatuation with cars. You went and got like one of your typical Me Too
yeah,
cars
yeah, yeah,
with
the
your
Mustang
Mustang. Yeah.
that I totaled.
But I still remember like the funniest thing is when I took off when I took off your antenna and I was like Wingardia Leviosa and you're
Oh
like
yeah, the Harry Potter
more
one.
what the hell are you doing? But yeah, it was funny. But I mean like
Yeah.
like what would you say like some of the most fun experiences are that you've ever had in the Marine Corps? Because I have a couple, especially with you, like like hurricane going out and in
Oh
our
yeah,
flak jackets and Kevlars
police
and
calling rocks,
yeah, all
cameras
kind
in
of
the
stuff. So
parking lot. Yeah,
what would be like a positive experience for you when it comes like a moment that you'll never forget? Because I mean, it could be like in duty on station or like on Libo, like the times that we went out and we had crazy stuff happen.
yeah.
But yeah, if you can give us
Yeah,
like
the
a
96s that we didn't stay within the, what was it, a 200-mile radius or whatever. Like, "Oh,
yeah,
you guys
yeah,
can't go to wherever," and it's like we're in Cleveland on a 96. Like,
yeah,
you just left, drove 12 hours, did whatever for 24 hours, and you had to drive 12 hours back. And you're like, oh,
yeah,
those times were fun and rough, but yeah,
yeah.
no, I mean,
Long drives, Charlotte. I mean, we know all
oh yeah,
all
Charlotte a
kind of
lot.
stuff.
When we went to NASCAR, where was that?
Darlington, yeah, I went to
Darlington. That
Darlington
was
and then
that was
and
fun.
Charlotte too. We went to the All Star race. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, but I don't
a
even
lot
like
of fun
NASCAR,
times.
but like that was it was just a party. Like that's all it was. Like everyone's just carrying around coolers of beer. Like everyone's friendly. You're just walking around. Like And don't get me wrong, seeing fast cars and wrecks was, you know, pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So like, sorry, I didn't mean to like steer thunder, but like a positive experience for you, like within that, and then like a negative experience,
A
with
positive would be a lot of like the people.
yeah,
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't really miss the military. I miss a lot of the people we were with,
hmm
like, the good
camaraderie.
ones. Yeah. So I miss that a lot. Like just the not even structure, but like brotherhood. Like
Yeah, oh
once you
yeah,
get out, you have a family and you're working and you're hanging out with your wife, kids, work, that kind of thing, plus, house things, the normal life. It's like you lose the your tribe. Like you don't have hours and hours each day where you're hanging out with your boys, or you know what I'm saying? Like you don't
right,
have that anymore. It's like the little free time you get, you're either with your wife and kids, or like you're like, oh yeah, 15 minutes to myself. Like that's not exactly enough time to, go see one of your friends and hang out. Like,
right.
so I miss that. But also the negatives to that would also be the just like the being treated like children. And I guess
Oh
some people did need to be treated like children, have their hand held, and like, be here, this uniform, this time, all that kind of stuff. But it's like,
yeah,
being 23 years old in the barracks, it's like you can't have a toaster. You're like, what?
yeah,
Or like you can only have 6 beers in your fridge. Like, okay, that's only going to encourage drunk driving because like you have 6 beers and you're like, all right, well, that kind of stuff. Or just like the mind games, or the do it again, or the just the bullshit like field days.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
grown men and women shouldn't have to be. And I get some of them were disgusting, and like I get that's where like
yeah.
the military is like, no, we got to make sure it's happening and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, okay, well, you should only do it to those people, not, the mass punishment always got me.
Yeah, oh yeah, that I think that's like the worst thing, especially
Yeah,
if you had like someone who was like almost like totalitarian and hated their wife at home. They
yeah.
would just make life for like every
In the
miserable for
barracks.
everybody else. Yeah. So, but like you talk about camaraderie, and I always think because you and I were, I mean, we were even roommates. I mean, it's just even crazy. Like I haven't seen you in 6 years, but we're talking like for the
Yeah,
first time in 6 years, and this is like natural. But like the camaraderie is like, it'd be like 10:30 at night, and you're like, Mar, let's go get
milkshakes.
milkshakes. Let's go get milkshakes. So we'd go to Burger King, we
Oh,
get some milkshakes, and then go down to the
yeah,
beach and like hang out there underneath
yeah,
the moon, like just like reminisce on stuff. But that's exactly right. Like the camaraderie, like you know, um, just like you said, the people. It's
yeah.
crazy. Like when that structure is gone, it hurts you when you're first out.
Oh
So
yeah, like
yeah,
that whole like
like
depression
absolutely.
and
Like
like
I think that would be the thing that I miss, and that's actually why I joined the National Guard afterward. Is like I miss that structure and camaraderie.
yeah,
So yeah. But like, you're like the typical Marine. You're the big stocky dude. You have a bunch of tattoos. But one
I
that
have a
I
couple.
know that you have, and I've always noticed it was your Philippians 4:13. Um,
Yep.
your Philippians 4:13 tattoo. So give a little story a bit about that, how that came to be, and like your thought process behind getting that.
It was just we were getting ready to leave for boot camp, and like I always had a cross, and on the little cross, it was like this wooden one. It was engraved on there, and I was like, can't take this cross. I can't wear it for boot camp. And I was like, every night I would always hold it and pray. So I was like, well, I'll do the next best thing, and like if I just get it tattooed on me, then it's like it's always there. So that's kind of why I did that. I mean, I have several other religious tattoos and like Psalm 27, different verses and things like that. But yeah, no, that one I got just because it was something I needed.
Yeah,
I guess I didn't need it, but I'm saying it was like this is my routine. This is what I do. This is how I pray. Like if I can't have it, physically have the necklace and the cross, like I'll just tattoo it on me.
so you said that was like right before you left. There was no like issue with you getting in, because I for people that don't know, like they take pictures of all your
Oh
tattoos and
yeah,
everything that
no,
you
it
have.
was
So was there like any indication like, hey, you shouldn't have done that or anything like that? But like, or any
no, because it
repercussions
was
for that?
like it was like within the skivvy shirt. It wasn't gang affiliated or
Okay.
anything like that. So yeah, when obviously when I went to get it, like I told my recruiter like, hey, I'm getting a tattoo, and he's like, well, where are you putting it? What's it gonna be? Okay, we got to take pictures, document it, and then you got to send that in with whatever your package is called. It stays in like your SRB, your student record book,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. It stays with all of that. But yeah, it was just more pictures. So
Yeah.
and
And I
I
mean,
was a young 20-year-old, like I'm gonna be a Marine. I'm just gonna get tattoos, man. Like it was
yeah,
just
you're gonna be loaded up, sleeved up, and everything like
yeah.
that. So you mentioned like you pray with that, and then you have the other tattoos on you. So if you're like rolling the faith here, what is like a turning point for you, like in your faith, where it's like, Like I think I don't know about you, but like for me growing up, it was like I grew up in the church. I kind of fell out of the church, and then I bounced around to different churches. I did like the whole young life thing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's eventually a turning point in someone's life. So like, what would be your turning point? Was it like around your accident, or is it a little bit later on in life? If you could just explain to that a little bit.
I mean, that's probably part of the accident was, but then I had another falling out after that. Obviously, after you almost die, like you're like, oh my God, I
Yeah.
got to not be a shitty person.
Right.
And even though like you're 20 years old, 19 years old, like there's
Yeah.
very
Flash
few
before
people that
your life
don't
flashes
do
before your
shitty
eyes.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I was raised Roman Catholic, like, went to church. It was stand, sit, kneel, sing, stand, sit, kneel. It was the very structured. And then after the sermon, when he's talking about it, you're like, okay, this guy's 85 years old talking about this verse in the Bible, and like you're like, I don't relate to it because
Correct.
it's an older man talking about the Bible and not relating it to anything pertinent for your at the time I was 12 to 16, 17, somewhere in there. Like,
Right.
you're just sitting there like, yeah, I have to be here. It's Sunday. I'm tired. I could be sleeping in, playing video games, whatever. I had that mentality. So I fell out of like, not Catholicism, because like I said, I was raised Catholic, but now I consider myself more of a Christian. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people are like, oh, well, there's different denominations and
Yeah.
Protestant and blah, 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 and all this. And like, well, to me, it's like, okay, one is less structured than the other. You know, like when I go to service now versus mass as a Catholic, it's like
Right.
night and day.
Yeah.
I get they're all trying to get you into heaven, preaching the Bible. Yes, they all have that. But like to me, it's like not even the same. It's way better to go to, well, for me, for that. So now I go to River Tree Lake, which is a more Christian based, younger. I mean, there's still a lot of, older people there, but they relate it more towards modern life and like even talk about like, your cell phone screen time, all this kind of stuff. And they relate that to the Bible and verses
Okay.
of the Bible that they don't talk about cell phones, obviously, in the Bible, but like,
Yeah.
being distracted, things catching your gaze, all that kind of stuff. That's
Yeah.
in the Bible. And then they relate it to how we are in 2025.
Hmm.
Whereas when I was younger, they didn't relate anything to, 2006 or whenever it was.
Yeah, you kind of seen that paradigm shift like now. I mean, I think a little bit later we'll get into this, but like you see like those two older generations, like the boomers and Gen X, they see Christianity as one way because they were taught a certain way. And then you
Yeah.
have like the millennials and the Gen Z, like they see it a different way, in a different light. But we'll get to that a little bit later. But like when you as you followed Christ from like the time of your accident, you're like, hey, I really need to focus on myself. Like, how have you seen yourself change? Um, like obviously you said that there's times where like you have fallen away since then. I
Yeah.
think everyone does because there's seasons in life. It happens to
Oh, yeah.
everybody, and it's more or less like you got to stay rooted in it. But how have you seen yourself like from that moment where you like, all right, I'm gonna follow Christ, you kind of fall away, like what happens in those moments, and then you pick back up again, obviously to like where you are now.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like throughout the Marines, I did a lot of drinking, partying, I
Yeah.
don't say the normal Marine stuff, but like, not great. It wasn't helping me grow as a person or anything like that.
Right.
So fell out through all that. And then like getting out, just feeling lost and like essentially alone. Like, yeah, you're still trying to fit in, trying to adjust from this life where they're like, hey, this is how everything is. And they don't teach you anything, after that or other than that. So then when you get out and you're like, wait a second, this is not like, this is how life really is. So just trying to navigate just a day to day to where like you don't have the structure, you don't have the, okay, be here, do this. It's like you're just winging it. And you went from having all these people around you to now basically solitude to where like, nobody's in your room with you. Nobody's like checking on you. Nobody's asking things. It's just you.
Right.
So, having the fallout of that, being alone kind of turned me back. But again, then that's when I started, wrestling with you know, Catholicism versus Christianity, like which one fits me better, which one's easier for me to understand and relate to. And
Right.
I don't mean like making it softer or like, people like want to like dumb down Christianity and be like,
Right.
oh, well, it's more tolerant and it's more leeway and blah, blah, and all that kind of, I don't mean like that. I just meant like more understandable to,
Right.
because like I'll be reading the Bible sometimes and like you read something and you're like, Like no idea how that, pertains to anything.
Right.
And like
Yeah.
after you like look it up, you're like, okay, well that makes a little more sense. If somebody breaks it down to, nowadays terms and like things you can understand and relate to.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was just trying to find that.
Yeah, yeah, I think yeah, like you said, I think everyone goes to that, and like you see, like you said, you went from like Catholicism, now you say you're more like Christianity, but like we have friends who, I think they grew up Protestant and they're like more orthodoxy, like Orthodox guys are like those guys are like hardcore. Same, same thing with like Catholics and stuff like that, but it's always like to each their own. My church is post denominational, we don't follow denomination, we follow core doctrine, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
So I mean that's big, but as you've grown and you went back home now after all this, has there been like any, because the Bible says like it will, it'll the word of God will turn brother against brother, father against son and stuff like that. Has there been like any
Yeah.
like family issues? Because like I obviously, as like worldly things come into people's families. People are influenced by like the secular world. So
Yeah.
is there like like your family members maybe falling away, or they kind of ruffle some feathers when you talk about it? Because it did here at first for me, especially with my brother, but I'm gonna have him on a podcast later because he just recently turned to Christ. But it ruffled some feathers. Has there been any of that with you?
I mean, not too much because, like I said, we were all raised Roman Catholic, so we all believe to an extent.
Okay.
But as far as like, going, practicing, preaching, that kind of thing, like, yeah, there's definitely different, I guess, levels. Because, like I'm not going, like when we hang out with them or see them, I'm not like actively trying to get them to talk about, the Bible or Jesus or like, hey, what are you doing to help people, that kind of thing. Like
Hmm.
those conversations don't really come up. It's like there's never been that. And as far as for like my immediate family, like, no, my wife, she was kind of the one that turned me back
All right.
about a year ago, like right before she got pregnant with
Okay.
our youngest now. So like she was kind of the one that got our family to start heading back. And then the one day we were in there and my 8-year-old Colt, he just threw me, as like, dad. Because they were asking people if you want to get baptized and all this stuff. And like I grew up to where like you had to, like I didn't
Right.
have a choice. Like, your parents are like, you're going this, confirmation, communion, you're baptized, all that stuff, like you just were. So I didn't want to like push it on my kids. Obviously I want them to and I influence them towards it, but I don't want them to be like, hey, this was forced on me. I want them to have found it and
Right.
actually like it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like guitar lessons when I was 5 or 6, like hated them. So naturally, after a couple of years, I quit. Didn't want to play guitar at all. And then 10 years later, I was like, oh, I want to play guitar again. But it was like, you're just going to quit. We're not going to sign you up for lessons again, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, I'd rather my kids, you know, find it that way. And then, yeah, so we just went to church one day and he just looked over at me. He's like, dad, I want to get baptized. Will you do it with me? I was like, yeah, I can get baptized again. Like,
That's awesome.
so he did it on his own, like just after going for like, a year or so.
Yeah. I mean, it's
So
it's
yeah,
one
and
of
then
those things where like you're never gonna forget that. He's never gonna forget that.
yeah,
So, and it's like you said, like people, some denominations like force their kids to do stuff like that, and it's almost like
yeah,
it's almost like your kid wants to watch football, and like
yeah,
you don't want to force them to be a Cleveland Browns
yeah,
fan. You don't want to force them to be a Dallas Cowboys fan. So like, hey, let's watch football. You guys, if you like it, you can continue watching it, and then you pick your favorite team, and then you come to watch football every week. You get to enjoy it
yeah.
with your kids, and it's like the same exact situation.
Yeah, that's like with
Uh,
sports. Like we don't
yeah,
force them to do like flag football and wrestling and all this stuff. We just kind of like, hey, you got to do something. Like, hey, pick one, just try it, see if you like it, go from there. Because you don't want them not do anything, but you
right.
also don't want to like force them into it and then they hate it. You know?
So obviously, like you said, that your wife, she like brought you back into it. But like the one thing is like you have a stepson, and
Yeah,
so like does his like his real dad, is he a Christian? I guess that could be like a tricky situation. Like if you're believing
yeah.
and then he's not, and then obviously she is, but maybe his other side of his family is not. Like how do you navigate that?
Well, I mean, he says he is, but like a lot of things he's done and all this stuff. And I get nobody's perfect, everybody makes
Right.
mistakes, that kind of stuff. But like a lot of things he's done and like being there for his child and all that kind of stuff lacking, it's like I don't understand how you could like kind of like abandon a kid. Like if you have a kid and you and your
Right.
wife didn't work out, you would still be there for your kid, right? Like as a
Correct.
man, as a Christian, you're like, I'm gonna take care of this kid, I'm gonna be there for him whenever he needs it, not just the, you know every other weekend type thing, or like not talking to him or calling him for months or years at a time. It's like to
Yeah.
me, yes and no, you know what I'm saying? Like says he is, but like, and obviously now they're better, but like throughout the years, there's been some rough spots to where it's
Yeah.
like, you just can't understand how some people do certain things.
Yeah, so like
Like you're like,
you'll know them by their fruits, right? The fruits
yeah,
of the labor, you know them by their fruits, if they really are a follower or not. But there hasn't been like if let's say he goes to church with you, there's no like opposition from
oh
his
no no no, yeah,
okay, so
yeah, because
everything's cool,
they go to a similar, not a similar church, but I don't know what denomination is, but yeah,
right?
they do, not all the time, but like here and there kind of thing. So
So like is is you have a family, you have a beautiful family. So then like you like you said you grew up in Cleveland. You leave the Marine Corps after your 4.5 5 years. Your opportunities after the Marine Corps, like do you initially instantly want to go back to Cleveland, or do you want to like try somewhere else and then eventually lead you back to Cleveland?
well no, when we were getting out, our friend Meyer, he lives in, was it Deerfield or somewhere down this way?
Okay.
Might be Deerfield, I can't remember. New Philly area, like New
Yeah.
Philadelphia, Ohio. So when we were getting out, because me and him got out around the same time because we put in the same VERP.
Yep.
So, and we both got a job with this company called Agile Networks where they build the backhaul for like police communications and EMS and all that stuff. So like climbing towers, putting dishes on them, running the cables, programming routers, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So I did that, but that was based out of Canton. So I moved down from Cleveland to Canton, and but that job was all over Ohio, parts of West Virginia too, but like mainly Ohio. So we were driving anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day, and then
Yep.
climbing towers, putting all the stuff up, and driving home. So it was a lot of 12, 16-hour days, overnighters, all that kind of stuff, not being at home.
Yeah.
So then I started going to school during that, but it was hard to with being traveling that much for work. So then my one neighbor told me about Timken Steel. They were looking for metallurgists, and I was like, I don't know what that is. He's like, oh, it's basically just quality control. I was like, all right. So I applied for that, and while I was applying for that, because that took months, I guess, just to go through the whole process, I was also started going to the State Highway Patrol Academy, like for Ohio State Patrol, and
Yep.
I stopped doing that because Timken offered me a job at like what an 8-year sergeant makes for the State Highway Patrol. So I'm like, wait a second. Yeah, it would be cool to be a cop, but also like I'm here for the money, not
Yeah.
plus I
Yeah.
feel like police kind of has like a shelf life because like say something happens, all right, you lose your family, like you could die, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or you have to use your weapon and then all of a sudden you end up in jail, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. You're never working as a cop again. So like there goes your pension and everything like that. So it's like looking at it that way, I'm like, okay, well, like I don't have that macho man chip on my shoulder to where like some cops, like I have a lot of cops in my family, and I'm not saying they're all good or they're all bad, but like, you get those some people where you're like, yeah, you shouldn't be a cop, like you're just here for the power
Yeah.
trip kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then there are some good ones. I'm not saying there's not, but there are some bad ones. And it was like to me, it was like I probably could have been a good one, but also I don't know, because like I don't really like, I don't know, I like people, but I don't like people. I don't have
Right.
very good patience either with things either. Like you ever be scrolling through like reels and you see those people like I'm a free inhabitant, you can't pull me over kind of thing. I'd be like, oh, Jesus, like so
Rip them
that
out
kind
of
of
the
stuff.
car. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I learned at least I was self-aware enough to know like physically and all that stuff. Cause yeah, I even told the one their their drill instructors or whatever, because they're like, this is like boot camp. And dude, it's a joke. Like it's not hard. If you're semi fit, and like I said, we already went through Marine boot camp, so I guess it was different for me because it's like, they're yelling, they're screaming, they're like rush, 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 and all this stuff. I was like, this is
Nothing.
not hard. Like, and their physical standards, I guess they might be hard for like your average person who's like, coming right out of high school, or like just got done with college to go and do it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, then it's probably difficult, but it's like, when I got out, I think my last 3 mile was like 22, 23. And like, dude, I didn't, your last 6 months in the Marine Corps, you don't do a
Yeah.
damn
You don't
thing. Like,
care.
yeah, like you're not even going to work anymore. They don't care. They're just like, oh, he's probably in his room. He's skating somewhere. It's fine. So I didn't do that. I didn't really do pull-ups. I didn't really
Yeah.
work out So then it was like, all right, and then just going and doing that and still passing what they expected you to do at the end on your initial, it was like, okay, well, can't be that bad, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it would definitely be challenging for, like I said, like most people just come out of high school or, whatever, because nobody gets yelled at and all that kind of stuff and the
Right.
stress and whatever else. But it's like, okay, already been there, done that. So
So I know what you do now. How have you been able to balance like your work life with your home life? Is it good for you? Do you wish
well,
it would
that,
be better, or because obviously like you say you leave the Marine Corps because if you're going to be a lifer, you're not going to see your family. Obviously,
right.
you meet your current wife. It's not your current wife. Your wife now. When you were in the Marine Corps, we'll get to that in a second. But like, how have you balanced your work life relationship? Because I think that's super important that a lot of people miss out on.
Oh
And
yeah.
I know for me, for me, like I had a couple jobs where I traveled all over the place. Like one day I'd be in Louisville, the next day I'm in Chicago, the next day I'm back down in Cincinnati, and like you said, that constant travel wears on you, especially when you have a family. So like
Yeah.
and I put my trust in God to apply for this place. I have zero experience, and I'm happier than I ever could be.
Yeah.
And it's by the grace of God that that kind of thing happens. So like, how have you been able to to make of your work life and your personal life?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely been rough. Like in the beginning, like when I first started at Timken, that was the first job I had that was swing shift. So, days, nights, afternoons, how it's going. Plus,
Yeah.
I'm going to school full time. So that left like, and we just had Colt. So, like, on top of that, there's like, obviously the family time was lacking for sure. So that put a lot of strain on the marriage and all that stuff. So that took a while to get that, I guess, like leveled out kind of thing. And then when I was
Yeah.
done with school, it obviously got easier. And then once I left Timken and went to First Energy, it's like it's still swing shift, but it's not as bad because at least I have my schedule for like the year versus well, it all depends on how many orders of steel and all that stuff are coming in for, how many turns or rotations we're going to run.
Hmm.
So that helped a lot. But yeah, no, it was definitely a rough patch. Just trying to, because like, yeah, I'm home, but I'm also like, if I'm home, I'm either sleeping or doing schoolwork most of the time. And then that's still on top of like, okay, taking care of newborn baby. Okay, then helping around the house, cleaning, doing the normal yard work chores, blah, blah, the normal day-to-day life.
Hmm.
So that definitely did get lost for a while. But now, I mean, it hasn't been easy getting here, but we're definitely like better than we've been. So it's
Yeah,
like,
kind of like settled
I
out.
mean,
Like the
yeah,
boat's not as rocky.
yeah, it's completely different as far as our marriage was and even who we were. Cause like
Yeah.
me and her were talking about this the other day. Like if we looked at who we were when we got married almost 10 years ago,
Yeah.
neither one of us are the same person.
Right. Oh yeah.
You're
Absolutely.
just,
Yeah.
you're just not.
Yeah. So that swinging into that, like you met your wife when you're in the Marine Corps. So tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that.
Yeah. No, I was actually, I was creeping on Instagram and for whatever reason, I came across her pictures or whatever. And I started like, scrolling through them or whatever, commenting on a couple.
Heart,
'Cause this was
heart, heart,
before,
heart,
yeah.
heart, heart.
Yeah. This was before they even had like messaging on
Right.
Instagram. So, I had to give her my number and then tell her to delete it off the comment. And then so we started talking that way, and she ended up being from, Cleveland, basically right around the, street from where I grew up. And she had a couple of the same friends. Like her cousin was one of my best friends. I guess my best friend's sister was her cousin. So
Okay.
like, and so we had like a similar friend group and everything. So then one time when we were up there on leave, I just like, hey, you want to come over, have a little party, blah blah blah. And then yeah, from there it's been, and that was right when we were supposed to deploy before sequestering or
Yeah.
whatever happened with that. Yeah, that was right before then. And that's when we started dating. Because I remember even telling him, like, hey, listen, I'm probably leaving for, they're telling us 9 to 11 months, but I'd still want you to be my girlfriend. And she was all
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay. And I was like, no, you got to understand, like, I'm deploying here in, like 2 months and I'm going to be gone for 9 to 11 months. Like,
Yep.
I was like, I understand if you say no, I totally get it. But yeah, so
Yeah.
she said yes. And then, yeah, got married 3 years later, I think.
Yeah. So,
2 years later.
you go from I would say suburbia life, and now you live kind of like out in the boonies. How has that transition been for you? Because I know you kind of switched to like almost like the homesteading kind of style.
Yeah.
Obviously it's weird from like I obviously I know where you grew up, like Brooklyn area, like
Yeah.
very it's very
It's your
your
typical, like,
neighbors are your yard
yeah.
is 50 feet from
Yep.
your next door neighbor's front door. So like what's that like been been like for you? Because that's a big change,
Well,
especially
yeah,
when
it's
you've never done it before. So
yeah. No, because yeah, like I said, growing up there in Brooklyn, it was like, your typical suburb, like, ride your bike here, do this, your neighbors are there. And then we moved to Canton, it was like probably worse because, you have your little, 17,000 square foot lot or whatever. I don't know the numbers, but like a quarter of an acre or less is your lot with your house and your little yard on it. And then your
yeah,
fence backs up to your neighbor's fence. So like if you're out on your deck grilling, you can like see in your neighbor's kitchen or back window, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, didn't like that very much.
it's
And
like a home improvement. Hey neighbor.
yeah, and then yeah, it was bad. And then now where we live out here, I can literally just shoot out my back door. I can deer hunt up in the hill. Like, I got a little pond, got a bunch of chickens. Probably a little went too many, but they keep dying. I got like a hawk problem. So,
Oh,
I mean, I trap like the raccoons, foxes, that kind of thing. But
hmm,
yeah, hawks. I mean, eventually I'm just either gonna have to like build like a little net thing on top of it, or like I said, every time I go to Family Farm and Home, which is like Tractor Supply, but
yeah,
I
I
would
got
say
one
it's
here.
better out here. Yeah.
Yeah,
They always have chickens on sale. So like if I go in there and they're like $1 a bird, I'm like, I just buy like 10 or 20, just
yeah. You got now? Do you guys do egg layers or you do meat birds?
egg layers.
Egg layers. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
nice.
I haven't really got too much on the meat just because the one time my wife bought ducks because we thought they were gonna be like the little, like mallards and like wood ducks for like the
Yeah,
pond and everything. They ended up being the Peking ducks and they got like huge, like
making a
bigger
mess
than
of everything.
goose.
Yeah,
Yeah. So then I butchered those and we ate those. But I was like, after that, I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like it would be nice to be able to grow your own chicken, and I just don't want to process it.
yeah.
And
I know. I,
around here,
I I
like,
know some people use like it's almost like a drum kind of thing. You throw them in there. One of my
yeah,
friends has them. You throw them in there, and then it makes it easy. But
it's got a little bunch of little rubber spikes that just, yeah,
yeah, yeah, but yeah, like you mentioned you have a pond and you live on the outskirts of town, but you really don't have your neighbors aren't too close or anything like that. But you built your own pond. You've done a lot of stuff to your house, and so props to you. But do you expect to like grow any more into that, or are you got kind of like we've settled down with our homestead stuff, like if you expand like pig maybe
well,
or anything.
the animal side is still up in the air, but like this year we want to, well, she wants to try to grow and make her own baby food because like he'll
Okay,
start, eating, the little mashed peas and all that kind of stuff
yeah,
soon here, and he'll be eating it for like a year. So we want to move the garden we have now, which is like, I think it's roughly like 25 by 25 by 25. Like it's a pretty nice sized garden. Like it's pretty big. So we want to move that closer to the pond this
hmm,
year just because the soil's better back there and all that. And then she wants to try, like I said, making her own baby food out of like peas, carrots, squash, whatever else we grow in there to make for them, and then making like jams and stuff because I'm gonna just use berries. Like once I put the fence in, I'm just gonna put a bunch of berry plants right up against the fence and just let them like, basically wall off the fence kind of thing. And
yeah,
it's like if the chickens eat some of them, oh well, the
yeah.
deers always eat all the wildflowers and everything around here, so like that's an ongoing thing.
Kind of a big issue for you then would be like your deer. I know you're kind of big at when the last time I talked to you, I should say you were big into deer hunting. Are you still like trying to get into like that big time outdoors life where you're a very I would say like self-sufficient in that end, like were you only buying meat from the store if you absolutely have to or anything like that?
See, I don't think I go that deep yet. I mean, we did just get another like big deep freezer, so we could probably buy like a whole cow
Yeah.
from like, your local butcher now, and like a whole cow would probably last us the better part of a year.
Hmm.
Because again, they do like packages where you can buy like a whole cow, and then they give you a discount on like chicken and pork, so you can buy
Yeah.
like, X amount of chicken and pork, and just I'd rather buy it from like that because like I don't want to raise my own cows and stuff like that. And like a pig, I think pigs would be cool, but also like messy and all that.
Oh.
But like,
Yeah, you
yeah,
think ducks are bad, pigs are
yeah,
terrible.
yeah. So
Pigs will
I'll think about
destroy
that.
anything. They run through electric fences. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. I do want to get a mini donkey just for more of like a, because it could live with the chickens, and like I would just build onto the chicken coop like a little, I guess, a stall almost
Mhm.
for the donkey. And then if I did that, hopefully it would not let, as many raccoons and all that kind of thing try to, constantly get into the coop.
So, like, you and I have talked about like the outdoor stuff, and you're big into like shooting. Like you built your own range
Yeah.
and stuff, everything. They have to don't don't like degrade yourself on like how little you've done, but like you've done a lot of stuff. Like you're a big time shooter. Like I think you were part of the Marine Corps shooting team, weren't you?
Yeah, yeah. No, I was range high a couple times.
Right.
I shot like a 348, 349.
Hmm.
Like 1 year was a 348, 1 year was a 349, and the best you can do is a 350 on
Yeah.
Lejeune. My name was up in one of the range houses, so I don't know if it's still there. Like I said, I haven't been back to Lejeune since we got out. Yeah, no, my kids, they're all pretty good shots. Like my 8-year-old knows how to, you know, operate most weapon systems. Like obviously he has trouble pulling back certain charging handles and that kind of thing because,
Right.
he's 8, but as far as like he knows how to load them, knows how to make sure they're safe, all the rules, all the safety, never point them at anything, all that kind of stuff. He likes shooting.
Hmm.
He's pretty good.
So you said you just had a baby. Congratulations, by the way. I know. I think I texted you when you did. But
Thank you.
so like you said, you have the stepson. Does he live with you during the week? Go to school down there where you guys live now, or does he go to school up in Cleveland area?
He did, but then he wanted to switch and go to Broadview, like Brecksville, Broadview Heights. So
Okay.
now he goes up there during the week with his dad. So
Okay. So obviously, like yeah, a big thing you see now, like online, I mean, with a lot of things you see it on the news too, is like, I would say like secular things coming into schools. Uh, how they do like affirmation of like kitty litter boxes in bathrooms and like
oh yeah, no,
the stuff that they're
nope.
teaching and stuff like that. Like, has there ever been like any thought? And I know this is hard with like you being like an ancillary parent. Like, has there been like thoughts of like, hey, we should like pull these guys out because obviously like where you live now, the rural area, it would be like it's not as much as it would be up in an urban area. Like like the
Yeah,
demographics, like like Cleveland
it's
is
not as
mostly blue
woke.
because of like
Yeah.
this, like the housing and stuff like that that's up there. And then obviously where you live now, it's probably more red. So like, has there ever been any thought of like, hey, maybe we should try to, homeschool these kids or any thought of that?
I mean, not for those reasons. Like we haven't really had to worry about, like you said, mostly. I don't want to say conservative down here. It's more of like common sense. Like, hey,
Right,
teachers teach their kids this. They don't like, you don't know if your teacher is a Democrat or Republican or liberal. You don't know a libertarian. Like they don't disclose or come off like any of that. They're
right,
just, I'm here to teach. That's it.
right.
Like
That's
it's
good.
same thing with their religion, which I would rather them teach or like preach more religion. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna get mad if my teachers are like, hey, I'm Catholic, blah blah blah. I mentioned Jesus in class, like, totally fine.
right,
But like if you're trying to tell my kid that my kid's a boy versus a girl or a girl versus, what I'm saying, like, okay, that's draw a hard line there. But
right.
yeah, we haven't really had anything like that to worry about. But I mean, we've talked about the homeschooling thing just because of like if you look at just you could just take a couple studies to where like they take like the highest performers in colleges,
Hmm.
and it turns out a lot of the higher performers in like Ivy Leagues and all these schools are kids that were homeschooled versus kids that had your standard education.
Yeah,
So like that's always been like a thought, but obviously that would be a lot of work on like I said, on the wife because she would have to head up most of that just because of my schedule and how I work. So like weeks I'm working afternoons, like it would be hard to, participate as much on, the weeks I'm working normal shifts.
right. Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it definitely homeschooling would be kind of cool because I feel like homeschool is just better all around because like there are things I went to high school for that I've never used.
right. Yeah,
And there are things that like I should have been taught in high school that we weren't taught. Like why like you had to go somewhere else to like learn how to like change a tire, change your oil, like basic things on a car. Like, hey, here's how you jump a car. Probably should have been taught that. Here's how you change a tire so you're not stranded on the side of the road. Oh,
right,
here's how you don't go broke if like basic budgeting.
right,
Like there wasn't a class for basic budgeting. Like, hey, if your rent's this much and you make this much, you can only spend this much. Like, why wasn't there anything like that? Like we had home ec, like home economics, where they taught you how to like cook and stuff like that. So I guess that was pretty good because it helped in certain areas. But like, there's not like just basic
like
skills, like
personal
life skill
finance. Yeah,
classes. Yeah,
like personal finance or anything like that. Yeah.
To
And
where if
I
you're
think,
homeschooling,
yeah, like I and like you kind of think about it, and we grew up in like that certain way, but it's kind of useless for having kids sitting in a classroom for 8 hours a day. Like
oh yeah,
it's glorified babysitting. Like
yeah,
I mean, each parent teach their own. Like we homeschool. Obviously, we got five kids. Four of them are like in schooling age. But our kids, for example, they're done with school by lunchtime every single day, and then they do like home. They do like it's cool because Ohio, they care a lot about homeschoolers. And Wood County, like their park districts, they do stuff for homeschoolers. Like hey, on this Thursday of the month, or every so recurring day, we're doing like a thing in a different like park for homeschoolers. And obviously I work, but Bethany takes the kids, and and there she said, she's telling you there's like 20 families there, so it's like it's
I see
huge.
that would,
uh, yeah, I mean that's the kind of thing that people, when you talk about homeschooling, like when we first talked about it, I was against it. But then I have to trust Bethany. And it's turned out for the best, because it's those kids have friends, she has friends, and it's like there's so much more resources out there for homeschoolers that people don't know about. And obviously it's independent on like the state that you're from. Like Ohio, like I said, Ohio's really big on it, but like that's not going to be the same if you're living out in like California or something like
yeah,
that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, homeschooling, it like I said, it's not for everybody. But I like it as an option, other than like, because you do get the you do you said like it's common sense at your school, but there are schools that aren't so common sense,
yeah,
with like transgender athletes and stuff like that. And it's not
yeah.
really something that you really want to induce, like introduce to like an 8 or 9 year old.
No, you
That's
shouldn't. Like, there's no reason like
right,
drag people should be reading to kindergartners. Like, it's fine that you're drag, don't care. Like, that's not for me, or I don't have any things against it. But like, why does this person need to dress up like this and go read books to kindergartners? It
right,
doesn't make sense. And like when we were younger, everybody thought like, no, yeah, that there's no need for that. Like, yeah, you can do your own luncheon and blah blah blah. Like, that's fine, and people can go there if they want to. But like, you're forcing this on a kid to where like if the same school or whatever wanted to have some like hard, we'll just say like cowboy type guy come in and talk about like being a cowboy and things like that, they'd be like, no, we can't do that because that's toxic masculinity or something like that. And you're like,
yeah,
it's the same thing. Like, I wouldn't, I say no to this one, I'm not going to say yes to this, just don't do it. Like,
right.
so, and that's like the
So
other homeschooling argument, like where they're like, oh, your kid's not going to get enough what do they call it, like assimilation
socialization, yeah,
time or
so yeah,
social. But it's also like, okay, if they go to school, you don't know any of the people that they're socializing with.
correct,
So like, are you okay? Like, like, who are they socializing with at school? I get they're getting socialization, but is that helping build your child into a good person or the person you want your child to be?
right, yep. So yeah, like you said, and that's very influential, because that's 8 hours out of a day.
Yeah,
Then and then if the mom is working, she doesn't come home till 5:30, and then you see them for like 2.5 hours before they go to bed. So like they're
yep,
influenced by, they're influenced by like the TV screens and what they see on their phones, and the people at
yeah.
school, and it's like,
That's who's raising them, not you.
yeah, and then and you kind of see that with like, the I would say like our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, like, um it's almost like the nuclear family was destroyed in those two generations. Like
Yeah,
they were more about themselves, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna let the school, like, we're gonna get as much money as we could. School's gonna raise. You're gonna turn on TV. We're gonna do a bunch of sports, yada yada yada." And then you have, and then you have like yourself. You leave the city. You want to bring back the nuclear family. Like me, I have a nuclear family. Bethany's a stay-at-home mom, so, and then you see that where like there's like a generational shift coming in
yeah,
America. And it's been fun to see. I think it's been taxing on everybody. Like the younger generation, I'd say we've been like displaced almost. Like
oh
there's
yeah,
there's been a lot that's been put against us, especially like housing market and stuff like that. Like, like you and I have talked, like, I built my house and just last year, and obviously like the interest rate for building houses isn't very fun.
Oh yeah, no,
You
dude,
know,
I'm
and then
stuck where
and
I
like like you, I know you bought like during a time
oh,
where like, hey, you want to expand, but you can't because you know it'd be irresponsible
yeah,
to leave what you have now.
you
So
like triple just like your interest rate
yeah,
instantly, and you're like, well, that's not really realistic.
yeah, and you know, and I myself like, you know, I would blame the older generation, the people in power, like they control that kind of stuff. So,
Oh yeah,
um, yeah, so like, you know, as, you know, you said that you've grown in your faith and stuff like that, like, and obviously you brought up like toxic masculinity, but like, have you ever like really looked into like what biblical manhood is? Like, to me, it's like you know you think of like warriors of Christ. Like Christianity is grown by like martyrdom. Obviously, we've seen Charlie Kirk die, and like
yeah.
the growth that comes through like his martyrdom. But like when you think of like biblical manhood, like what does that mean to you?
I guess leading your family like by example. Like you can't expect your family to be like close in Christ or like wanting to lead good lives if you're not doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you just go to
Right,
work and then you come home and you're just like, become like a sloth on the couch and you don't really want to do anything or like hang out with your wife and kids or like talk to them about those things or get them involved in that kind of stuff. It's like you can't expect them to turn out to be
right,
who you want or like what I'm saying, like the person you're envisioning your son, daughter, wife, or whatever to be. Like you want them to be close in faith and live a certain life and lifestyle. If you're not inching them that way, and I don't mean like forcing them and being like ruling with an iron fist type thing, but like at a certain point you got to be like, hey, if you're not going to do this, we're not going to work. Or like,
right.
I want our kids to do this. Like,
Yeah, it's
and
almost
yeah,
like you. I you know I was talking to Bethany the other day. She made she had a pretty good example where she you know she was telling me that she was seeing on someone's story where like the kid was sick, but he was like a 13-year-old kid, and the dad was like, "Hey, you got to bring in firewood. Just because you're sick doesn't mean you just get to lay around the house. Like you're a man, you have a
yeah,
responsibility." You know, and we see that like sacrificial love. That's I mean that's what a
yeah,
father's love is like sacrificial love. Like you're gonna do everything you can to support the ones you love. You
yep,
know, take time out of your day, do things you don't want to do, and like your kids and your wife, they see that, and I
yeah,
think that's the most important thing. You're leading by example, you know, and like the big thing to me is like, you know, what is it? First Corinthians 16:13. You know, be strong, be a man. You know, act like men. That's like that's the big one is like
yeah.
act like men, have faith, and you know, it's crazy like you know, we talk about like biblical manhood and then you talk about like toxic masculinity, like how much, and you said earlier how people want to water down Christianity. They want to make it like this passive, like, you
Yeah.
know, you can't judge me. I'm, you know, that's not what that is. But it's like, no, you're wrong. And like I kind of see it with like because obviously I'm friends with like Austin and Ben and stuff like that. So you know, they're and like you as well, like you're very strong in like your morals. Like when you
Yeah.
when you see something, you're like, hey, that's not right. I'm gonna tell you that it's not right. And you know, I don't care if I offend you. But some people would be
Yeah.
like, you're not being a very nice person for doing that. And you're like, I'm just
Yeah.
telling you the truth because
Yeah.
wisdom comes from truth, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any issues like that in your life, because I think that you know a lot of times like society is trying to like knock men down,
Oh yeah,
and
no, and marriage, just
yeah, I
you're
mean, in
you're
marriage
trying
in
to
general,
trying to
yeah,
trying to break up the household, not even the government, just obviously like you believe in good and evil. Like
yeah,
obviously having a marriage that's strong to raise kids, evil wants to break it up.
yeah,
Nobody's
yeah,
perfect, everybody has fuck ups, like and just trying to deal with that because obviously you're like, no, this should never happen. And yeah, bad things should never happen, but they do. So it's like, are you gonna destroy everything? And
right,
rebuilding is good for some, not for others, all that kind of stuff. But obviously, you have to have the right, I guess, team behind you to be like, hey, if we're going to fix this and rebuild this better and stronger, everybody has to be 100% in. There can't be, like I said, like lukewarm Christianity. I'm guilty of it too, because like
oh yeah,
when you're
hell yeah,
talking about like I stand by my morals, yes, to me, but like I don't necessarily. I should do more outreach, spreading the word. Like Charlie Kirk, great example. He always preached faith.
hmm
I don't. So that's an area I am lacking. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like obviously I want me, my family, my close knit group. I tell them, but like I should do more. And that's something I do need to work on and want to. But I feel like that'll come with time because like I said, my wife's the reason that I got closer. because
Yeah.
she was like, going down bad road, like, I want to be a better person. We should try church. And I'm like, we should. So like, she's the reason that our family started going back towards it, but I want to be the reason that we stay in it and get deeper.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I lacked in areas, but also I would like to think I'm self-aware enough to know, like, okay, just because I thought that I was doing enough and like I believed in my morals, that doesn't mean anybody else does.
Right. Yeah, I mean, but like you said, we all lack in certain things, but and when it comes to like forgiveness, Jesus says forgive 70 times seven, and
Yeah,
if you think about all the horrible things that we've done in our life, and this is like one of those things where it's like when people are like, "Oh, I'm a good person," but
you're not.
Romans 5 would say, "Hey, no one is good." As a Romans
Yeah,
3, Romans 3 said, "Hey, no one is good. No
yeah,
one, no,
no,
you're not even close to righteous." So, like, if God forgives you for everything that you've done in your life, your good deeds never outweigh your bad. So you could do the most horrendous thing, and he still wants to forgive you. If someone in your like your brother or somebody hurts you, you should still forgive them because
yeah,
look at all the crappy things that you've done that he has forgiven you for.
yeah,
And I always try to keep that in mind because obviously it's like this righteous anger within you where you're like, man, this
yep.
this really makes me mad.
Oh yeah,
But
I was just about to say that. I was like,
yeah, you're like, man, I have to do this. I don't want to do this, but I have to because that's what the Lord tells me to do. And when it comes to like you said you want to like talk more outwardly about your faith. I think that comes with time. I mean,
yep,
not everyone is gonna be like Nicholas Bolton going out to like LGBTQ communities and like street
yeah.
preaching. Like that's
Or
not
like
for
just know verses off the top, like, what I'm
yeah,
saying, like, oh, you're having a conversation with somebody about this, and all of a sudden you just, oh, it's this verse. Like,
yeah.
yeah, that's
That's absolutely insane. Like I know like the big ones like like Romans and so you asked me to go back to like name like an Old Testament verse. I mean,
no
I
idea.
I
Yeah,
don't know. Like, I need like a reference
yeah,
Bible or something like that.
yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah,
That's
but yeah, I mean, and like Beth and I talk about this every single night. Like everybody's path is different.
mhm,
Everybody's walk is different. Everyone learns at different times. That's what makes us unique. So, I always say like I commend fathers who want to be strong in their faith. Obviously, you know, the shock and awe of like what happened to Charlie Kirk is like absolutely insane. Like I'm not getting into like conspiracy theories and stuff that goes on about that, but
I love conspiracy theories.
oh yeah, we can talk about a couple. But
Yeah,
and I commend young men, especially who are like who want to dive into faith and be strong, level headed men for the the people that they love, and it's and props to you because I know obviously you've been through a lot, and it props to you for continue to that like you said that faith growth. So like as you have grown leading into this next question, you have obviously you said there's things that you lack and there's things that you're strong in. What would you say that you're strong in? And what would be like something that you lack in besides like, like spreading the word to other people?
okay, we'll start with lacking. Definitely like the forgiveness, or the like the why me, or the, that's unfair, that shouldn't have happened, like
Hmm.
the pity parties, like, and just forgiving, like, that's, I get, they're like, you can forgive but you can't forget, blah blah blah, and all that. It's like, well, no, at a certain point, like, you have to,
Yeah.
like, not even for them but for you, because like you're gonna lose it if you can't. So trying to figure out that is definitely a lacking area. But that probably comes with time, and like,
Yeah.
not overthinking it or thinking about it too much and everything like that.
Yep.
And then, like I said, strong, I would say I'm strong in like the, no, this is what I believe. If you like, you're not going to convince me otherwise. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Correct.
like when people are like, how do you believe in Jesus? It's like, well, how do you believe in the Roman Empire? Like, oh, well, we can see it. Okay, well, there's more written down about Jesus and the Bible and references for that versus the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
But you believe the Roman Empire was real because you saw the Colosseum? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
Like, one has more proof, written down proof, that, because people are like, oh, well, you don't know if it's true or not. It's like, okay, well, the same writings and all the stuff they found for Jesus, the same writings and everything they found for, the Byzantine Empire, the Roman Empire, and all that stuff. Like, okay, well, this is true.
Yeah.
Or like the Egyptian Empire, they're like, okay, well, we believe this, but you don't believe the life of Jesus. Like, to me, it's
Yeah.
not like a. like what's his name? Lee Strobel. Is
Yeah,
that the guy that like started off as an atheist and was like, I'm gonna disprove the Bible, and like 20 years later, he's like, shit, couldn't disprove it. Like, I think it's
yeah.
Lee Strobel. I don't. Yeah,
Have
but
you
it was like,
ever
okay,
have you ever like dove into apologetics when it comes to that
uh,
kind of stuff? Oh man,
not
like,
one of those.
someone like I know you would really like because Beth and I went through this thing late last year where she was like introduced to like a cult kind of thing, and it was like weird, but like I really had to like armor up like my Bible knowledge, and that's what really got me like going because like I need to protect my family, like I'm responsible for
Yeah.
my family, but like an apologetics guy who I've always really liked is Wes Huff. He's from Canada. He's actually like this short,
His name
stocky dude.
sounds familiar. Hang on.
He reminds me of Kudrowski. Like he's just a short, stocky dude, but he's like a super nerd. Talk about Kudrowski, short, stocky dude who
Oh
drove a
yeah, yeah,
cube,
I know this
drove
guy.
a cube. That was
Yeah.
like one of the funniest things ever.
Oh
Uh, but yeah, like apologetics is like really what changed my life when it comes to like the Bible and stuff like that. Because like me, I'm very like I would say I want to see things. I want to see proof. And then
yeah,
like diving into those apologetics, like information is king. You see those things and you're like, man, he is, and to be able to prove it, time and time again. And it's been really fun to follow that. And then obviously I dive into like, Joby Martin from Church of 1122, and then like Philip Anthony Mitchell, Josh Howerton,
I like Philip.
yeah, all those guys. I mean, those are guys who are like on fire for the Lord and can change your life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, apologetics is fun. I actually love apologetics because it's like
You know, I just typed it on my phone so I can
see what
dive
he
into
looks
that
like.
later. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I do recognize Wes Hoff. I don't know his name, but yeah, I have listened to like what's he on Rogan? I think
yeah,
he's
he
on
was on
Rogan
Rogan.
once or
Yeah, that's
twice.
what really
Yeah.
made him go off. Yeah,
Yeah.
him and his Billy Carson thing,
Yep.
where he,
Billy Carson, the is that the Forbidden Knowledge guy?
yeah, yep.
Or is that Ben Carson? I don't know. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, that
that's
Forbidden
Billy
Knowledge,
Carson.
that's some crazy stuff too.
Yeah, yeah, he
That's
he was
another
he was
whole.
way, 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 way out there. But yeah, like you said, you're strong in morals. You're not gonna move off that kind of stuff. And I
Yeah.
really applauded that. But like, when it comes to, when people say that kind of stuff, like I can't. How do you believe in God? Well, the Bible says us all creation attests to God.
Yeah.
I think it's Galatians where it's just like all creation attests to him. Like you're looking at like your body is built like the Trinity. You have a
Yeah.
soul, you have a spirit, and you have your flesh. So like you are literally made in the image of God. So
And like I can't get behind the whole like, okay, so this exploded and all of a sudden everything stopped at the right distances and the right temperatures and everything like that, and everything happened just magically
mhm,
versus divine creation. Like I feel like there's less proof that the possibilities of an explosion versus somebody made this. Like,
yeah. Yeah, there's the creator. Someone has to do something. So
yeah.
I lean more towards the creator. But have you guys ever been down to like the Ark down in Lexington?
Mm-mm. No, we want to do like that way, like Pigeon Forge. What else is over there? The Titanic thing, is that out that way? I
Yeah,
think that's in Tennessee.
yeah.
Yeah, we
The
were
the
talking
Ark
about
is
that.
really fun because kids are free.
Yeah,
I think 12 and under are free.
I think we just
So
want to let the little one get, when he gets like two,
yeah,
so that way it's not just lugging around a, you know, 15-pound weight everywhere. Just
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Uh, you talk about like conspiracy theories. I don't know how much you follow like real world stuff like going on, like politics and whatnot. But like like foreign, it seems like right now like foreign influence in the United States is absolutely insane.
yeah, all time
Like
high for
yeah,
sure.
all time, like the psyop is broken.
Yeah,
Like
like
it is.
they're
It's
not even
showing you,
hiding
and
it now. Yeah,
like no one, like the people don't want to believe it, but like you're like hello, it's like hitting you in the face, like
oh yeah,
hey, like, and like for me, it's like why do obviously like the big thing is like right now is like the Somali stuff, the Somalians in Minnesota and like
oh
um
yeah, yeah.
all that kind of stuff, but like
The
the
hundreds of millions of dollars that have somehow just disappeared for it. Like wait, what?
yeah. And then
Yeah.
you have like all of our politicians are dual citizens.
Oh yeah.
I don't like that because that's
I don't
treason.
like it. Yeah. Yep.
For me, I would say, hey, if you have a dual citizenship, you shouldn't be taking
You should be a public servant.
you shouldn't be a public servant because you're like you
Yeah.
said, that's treason. But I think like 95% of our government is you know is dual citizen. So it's like it's almost like we need we need generations to pass.
No, you
I
just need common sense.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
we don't
absolutely.
need to go back to when the country was founded because we did a lot of bad shit back then, but we also had some pretty good ideas which shaped the world. And
Yeah,
now that the world is shaped, they're like, hang on, you guys still got bad ideas. It's like, no,
yeah. It's
we made
almost
the
like
world what it is. Like,
yeah. So like for me, I know this. I know this is always funny for me to talk about, and it's like if you look at the way America is now, and if you like flip back 100 years, you could see what Germany was before World War II. I don't I don't know if you've ever done that, but like the Weimar years, where a lot of people like I don't even think the school teaches about the Weimar years, where they were full of like children brothels and prostitutions and transgenders and all that kind of stuff. And now like that's prevalent here in America.
that's
And
pretty
it's
much
kind of
where we're
like,
at almost. Yeah.
yeah, like hyperinflation. And it's like, and then you have like the rise of anti-Semitism. Like, you're blaming a certain group of people for all this. And you're just like, I don't know. But like
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a conspiracy theory because, that might become true with like the foreign influence that we have in our country,
Oh
which
yeah.
is insane
And
to
like
me. How like
the
no one,
blind support for certain countries is just
yeah,
asinine. Like take Israel or Ukraine, for example. Ukraine was the most corrupt country in the world for ever, not ever, but like, the
yeah,
longest time. And now we're like, oh yeah, we'll just give them hundreds of billions of dollars. No, we don't need to know where it's going, who's taking it, or what it's going for. Like we didn't want them in the UN like 5 years before this happened, and now all of a sudden we're like, we should put them in the UN.
yeah,
They were corrupt, and we didn't want anything to do with them. But now that Russia, is attacking them, which half of them wanted to be part of Russia anyway,
yeah.
so it was like it should have just been like, hey, raise your hand if you want to be part of Russia. All right, draw this line. That's Russia. That's Ukraine. Done.
Yeah, and then like you said, the blind support for Israel, and I mean
Yeah.
it's crazy because it's like evangelical Christians too, and it's
Oh,
just like bad eschatology.
yeah.
That's what I would
Oh,
put
and
it in.
like is Islam, like I don't think there's any place in the modern world for Islam. Like,
No, absolutely
you
not.
know,
No,
it
no.
preaches killing basically everybody that's not you. So like we
Yeah,
could probably just get rid of that as a whole.
yeah. It's
But
almost
also
like
like
go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was gonna say with like the blind support to Israel, like we're just forking out money to Israel, Ukraine, and all this other stuff, and you're like looking at the US as a whole, like all of that money could have paid for like kids' lunches at schools or, homelessness and all this other kind of thing. Like we could have used that across the board for a lot of different things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this last election we were kind of like shafted. I think the veil was like pulled over our eyes, and I that's kind of hurt us quite a bit. But like you said, the blind support it's kind of insane. And just because like for me, I'm anti-Israel.
Yeah.
I'm anti-Israel, but I'm also anti-Islam. Like I don't have a support in either of those because both of
Yeah.
those are bad for Christians. They're bad for
Yeah.
America. But then you have like I would say like places like Dearborn, the hotspot for
Oh
Muslims,
yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like there's so much going on now, and like you said, there's like there's no it's right in your face, and it's just like
Yeah.
which battle do you want us to choose because we can't do it all at one time. But
Yeah.
you're trying to stay focused on this. You got work and that but there's a lot
Well,
of stuff that's like that has influence that's going to influence our families. Because if bad things creep into like our home life, that's things that we literally have to think about.
yeah.
So it's I mean it's just it's been absolutely crazy. Like these like this like you said this past year has been
Dude,
nuts.
we could hours of like conspiracy things and like you have them running conspiracies anymore. Like
Right?
if you think about conspiracies from like the 50s, like even like JFK, UFOs, all that stuff, and everyone's like, oh my God, that's a conspiracy, blah blah blah. And they like labeled off a bunch of people as crazy people. You're just a conspiracist. Now it's like 2020 came around. You're like, hey, actually, those people were right. For the last 70 years, they were right. Like
Yeah. I mean, for
the
example,
government was, yeah,
the COVID shot. People are like, "No, I
oh
wouldn't
yeah,
take it. I think
that's
that's bad." And now they're like, "No, you're a conspiracy theorist." and now they put out the black box label for COVID shots. Like, hey, you shouldn't get those anymore. They're
Yeah,
killing
like,
people. Like, the guys told
yeah,
Bethany, you know, you just give it 5 years and you'll find out that you were right.
yeah.
Especially with
That's
like the videos of like chemtrails and stuff like
oh yeah,
it's literally
that's
like right in
also
your face.
crazy.
Yeah, like you
Yeah,
said, everything is in your face, and you know, it's like, what do you choose? Like you said, we could go hours on conspiracy theories because, like, you know, I went to Dallas
dude,
this past summer, and I stood at the grassy knoll, and I'm just like, there's no
there's
way he
no
shot it.
way.
There's no way, dude. It's like right there.
Yeah,
And then no, there's no way. So it's like,
yeah,
like you said, there's so much stuff, and like I don't want to get in trouble for like talking about it online because
yeah.
I got job and stuff, but it's absolutely insane. Like
Oh yeah,
I can't believe the stuff that goes on, and the people are like, no, where's the proof? And it's like it's right in front of your face.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
what
that's
do you
even
what
with
do you
like the
believe in?
COVID
What do you
shots.
not
Everyone's
believe
like,
in?
"There's no proof for that. There's no proof for that." It's like now there is proof for it, and they're like, "Oh well,
Yeah.
the government wouldn't have lied to us."
Yeah. Yeah, MK Ultra never happened, guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Ferdinand School never happened. They never poisoned kids with cereal. They've
yeah.
never done that. So
Louisiana as a whole, like
yeah,
just
they would
uh,
never they would never bring in a bunch of immigrants to vote for themselves. No, they would
yeah.
never stuff ballot boxes.
It also is
Conspiracy.
crazy though. I saw this thing on what was it? It might have been on Turning Point's website or something like that. It was about the swing states. It was like all the swing states that changed from blue to red are all of the states that require an ID to vote in federal elections, which
Mm,
doesn't seem like shouldn't be a controversial topic. Like you should have to have a state issued ID to vote in any state election because you should have to be a citizen to take part in voting because that's what our country was founded on. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
I don't understand
absolutely.
how there's a oh this is racist, that's whatever, you can't do that. Like no, you should need an ID to vote. Like state, federal, local, it doesn't matter. Like
Hmm.
you should have to prove you're a citizen to vote for people to make decisions on behalf of the citizens. Like
Yeah. I think voting reform needs to be done as a whole. Like
yeah,
for me, especially like locally, I don't think renters should be able to vote. You know,
no,
just
not for
because.
things that could increase taxes.
Yeah, because hey, you're moving here, you're living here for 2 to 3 years, and then you're going somewhere else, but you're affecting
Yeah,
me for the next decade. Like I,
yeah,
I don't want that. So that's a topic for another time. But hey, man, I just
yeah,
wanted to,
yeah.
just some words of encouragement. Wrap up if you don't want to say anything else. Ephesians 6:10, be strong in the word and in the world and in all of His might. So like anytime you're down, just remember like, hey, when you're weak, He is strong. And I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, we haven't talked in like 6 years, but it's
Yeah,
like
it's been a
we,
minute.
we never we never missed a beat.
A
And
couple
like
texts
you
here and
you only
there.
live like 2.5 hours away from me, so I can, we'll get together eventually sometime
Yeah,
soon. But hey, man,
for sure.
if you have like a YouTube or Instagram you want to shout out, go ahead and do it. And
Well, I just started a YouTube. Well, I'm gonna start posting on here, but it's Pew Pew Daddy, and it's just gonna be like shooting stuff or little tutorials. Maybe I can't bring the kid on it and have him shoot because I had a little short of him shooting, and I got a strike or whatever it is. But whatever,
ooh,
can't teach gun safety on YouTube because
and how
that
does
makes
like
sense.
Demolition Ranch get away with that then?
I guess because he doesn't have kids on there. But it was
Ah,
like it was teaching my son how to
yeah,
and then I got flagged. So well,
yeah.
can't do that anymore, man. Sorry.
Yeah. So, hey, man, like I
Yeah.
said, I appreciate you coming on to this. It's been a pleasure having you on, catching up with you. So, I'll eventually get out there to have a beer with you. So, once again,
All right,
thanks.
man. No, I
Peace.
appreciate it.
Have a good one,
Good
Daniel.
seeing you. All right, take care.